All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our session today. All our panelists and guests are in the house, and we are ready to learn quite a number of things from them. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to this community. We learn quite a number of things in tech, and our session today is going to focus on some unspoken realities and success stories in the tech space. We are having conversations behind the hype because technology sometimes in terms of career is quite overrated, and there are some things that you need to know as a practitioner or someone who is interested in the tech field. If you're joining our channel for the first time, you can take some 5 seconds, subscribe, help us grow our learning community, share it with your friends, and if you have any question, we have a chat box, the live chat box, where we'll be able to pick your responses and share them to the panelists. I'll do a short intro to the panelists because today we are going to talk about serious things. But of course, we don't have to begin on a serious note. We can begin on a lighter one. So you'll allow me to do an intro to the panelists, then we proceed. Our first panelist is known as Mila. Mila is the founder of Frog Technologies. He's also an accomplished mobile and back-end engineer with extensive experience as a consultant and a leader in the technology sector, notably as a mobile engineer consultant at Tenzi.Africa and Dynamic Mobility Limited. He's also a back-end engineer and a consultant at Generation Schools and the Chief Technology Officer Consultant at OnSpace Technology. Mila holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Informatics and Computer Science from Strathmore University. You can show some love for Mila in the chat box. Our second panelist is known as Rehab Wanjiru. She's a passionate visual storyteller with skills in production, photography, content creation, and social media management. She's currently serving as the digital content creator at Focus Kenya, Fellowship of Christian Unions, and that role has given her extensive experience in multimedia production for digital platforms. She views visual storytelling more than just a mere profession. She finds joy in using those digital tools and platforms for kingdom purposes, for the glory of God and social impact. She also has a special interest and passion in mental wellness and advocates for healthy and godly solutions for healing in terms of mental health challenges. You can show some love for Mila in the live chat box, as well as Rehab. Our third panelist is known as Ronald Ngoda. He is the founder of PayHero Kenya Limited. PayHero is one of the fastest growing fintech startups in Kenya. If you've heard of it, it's dedicated to transforming the financial services landscape in Kenya and beyond. They are driven by a vision to build a secure, user-friendly, and an inclusive digital payment ecosystem. Ronald is very passionate about empowering individuals and businesses through innovative financial solutions. His work is rooted in a strong commitment to advancing financial inclusion and revolutionizing how people manage their finances, not only in Kenya, but also Africa. Lastly, we have Irene. Irene Ureithi is a tech-oriented problem solver with her pillars resting on machine learning. She's into AI and digital innovation. She also has hands-on experience in training and deploying computer vision models and creating chatbots. Equipped with AI engineering and digital program design, Irene works at TechnoServe. She integrates AI solutions into entrepreneurship programs in the Kenya's blue economy arena. That's at the coast of Kenya. She's devoted to developing strong and usable AI solutions. She's also passionate about encouraging women to join STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So you can show some love as well in the chat box for Irene and Ronald. So welcome. I'm sure you're very much anticipating to hear their voices. But as I said, because the session today is a bit serious, we are talking about realities. We also don't have to be serious in the introduction. So I'll start with our first panelist, who was Mila. So Mila, you'll tell us your full name and maybe what we left out, but you'll also answer, each of you will have to answer a unique question that I'll ask them in the introduction. So Mila, you can do your intro and your question will be, what is your favorite English Premier League team? Yes, you can go first.
All right. My name is Mila Dulu. Yes, I think the intro captures most of it. Though, let me see. Currently, apart from founding like FrogTech, I also work in software consulting, which isn't up on LinkedIn just yet. So basically, what we do what I do at Frog is that is an entity basically for mentorship in like community settings, so that like you're able to have other like younger people like able to have other basically other people come through and then be able to have a stepping stone into IT. Over the years, it's been in existence since 2018 when I was back in campus as a side, like as a hobby. Since then, I think we've had about 32 team members come through, and most times it was maybe like their first job. Before then, they went on to do other things, because there's always a dilemma whereby to get a job, you need experience, but to get experience, you need to get a job. So Frog helps to solve that particular thing. And so from that program, we have had people go on to do like very amazing things, and people who had no opportunity, like be able to have enough experience to be able to transition into like stronger, into more complex roles. So very happy about the work that we do there. And so obviously that cannot like pay for itself fully. So I work full time as a software engineering consultant, and so that's how I balance out things, and I do enjoy training people who have a commitment to learn, and I'm trusting that those insights will be very key for this session. My favorite English Premier League team is Chelsea. Silent but dangerous.
Our second panelist is Rehab. Rehab, your question would be, what is your favorite destination in terms of tourist country outside Kenya? If you had all the money and everything, what would it be? As you also do your intro.
Wow, thank you, Douglas. I'm excited to be here. And thank you for that interesting question. Yeah, in terms of my introduction, I think you have already said everything. But I would add that besides what I do, in the context that I am in, working with young people at Focus, I'm very passionate about training media teams for Christian unions or even churches. It's an area that I really enjoy, because that's what I do. I use digital skills, I use technology in this space of expanding the kingdom of God, and I enjoy training training our students in that area. Yes, my favorite destination. I have many. Yeah, I think it has changed over time. When I was younger, I used to admire cities, um, like city life and all that. So I'd look at, I think Kitambo when I was young, London was such a something, it was something. It was in terms of city, but I think right now I would go with somewhere where outside Africa that it doesn't have extreme weather conditions, and that I think would be anywhere in Australia, that continent. I think anywhere there. I think the weather there is favorable. I have never been there, but I have done my own research, and I think anywhere for travel, I think I would enjoy that because I don't like extreme weathers. So yeah, I think that would be my answer.
Okay, you had you.
Mm,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
Our next panelist, we can hear from you, Ronald. Ronald, your question would be, because I know you very well, what is your favorite food?
Okay. So my name is Ronald Goda. I've been introduced by Douglas, and I'm a software engineer by occupation and profession. I'm also the founder of Pay Hero Kenya, which is a fintech startup that is revolutionizing the way businesses and also individuals conduct business transactions and manage their business online. Okay, so that's my passion, and that's what we are doing, revolutionary business in Kenya and Africa at large. Yeah, so for my favorite food, that would be chicken. I think he said he knows me, so I know why he came up with that question. So chicken and ugali, basically. So that's like a default food for people from Western Kenya. Yeah. So thank you very much.
That was easy for you, Ronald. I wish that was my question.
Okay, thank you, Ronald. All right. So, lastly, our panelists from the coast, Irene. You know, coast people, you love being last. I don't know if it's by, I don't know. So we thought to honor you in that manner by you coming at the very end. Hamna haraka. So karibu. Your question would be your favorite color. Yes.
Thank you, Douglas, and good evening, everyone. My name is Irene Moridi, and as Douglas has said, I work with TechnoServe, specifically with a program known as Bluebees, which is in the coastal region. And in coast, we like to take things slow because the weather is a bit extreme here, which Rahab does not like, but I bet she'd enjoy if she came during this season. And we say kutagulia sikufika. My passion entails in helping women mostly overcome barriers in their communities or societies or find solution to their challenges using technology and specifically simple technology that they can be able to embrace and that they can be able to also share among other peers or in their community. And I have a variety of colors that I like, but at the moment I like sky blue. For some reason, I just see things nowadays that are in like some sky blue hue, and they tend to attract me. I don't know what that means, but still on a discovery journey. Thank you, Douglas. Back to you.
Okay. Thank you. I guess if you needed to attract Irene as a gent, you'd need to be sky blue in color. perhaps that would work for you. So that's okay. At least you heard from the panelists. If you want to trap Ronald, you can just use ugali and chicken. Yeah, you'd have him. For Ray, if you do some trips in Australia, I guess you would love enjoying your company there. And for Mila, Chelsea, you can get him a jersey for Chelsea, despite them being number 15 out of 20. But I know something would work out for them in another season. So that's it for the introduction. We can go to the real talk now. I'll ask Mila, you can kindly share with us how you got into tech. And for someone who is also thinking of going into tech, what would be some of the things you would advise them, especially in terms of the pitfalls, the things that you feel, if I had done this right, perhaps it would have been better for me. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to mute. How I got into technology was basically, I think my father had a lot to do with that part, because he introduced me to like using computers earlier on, and yeah, I think that used to be interesting. And then I think when I went to like a primary school, it used to be very interesting doing computers there. And then now, like I want to be like a pilot. And so back then, the what the the story used to be a pilot. Once you finish primary school, you ensure you enter Mango High School, and then from there on, they have like aviation, and you are on your way to becoming a pilot. Now, did the exam, but didn't qualify to enter Mango, and so another chance like opened up to, I guess, go high school, and then it's now there when I went, and then I found that they do computer, and I was like, huh, I'm actually very good at this. And then I now be, and yeah, so I was not able to pick it up from there. But I think my dad played like a very huge role in terms of encouragement, in terms of opportunity, because I think it's he took me to because of the interest that I showed. He had, I think I went to IAT. This was in 20, 2013. Yeah, I was in Form 2 then. So it took me for a course at IAT in Visual Basic.NET programming that I think I finished with a distinction. And then from there on, it's been coding ever since. So that was my introduction into technology. The other question was, yeah, and then it's been that way ever since. And then high school, did computer, finished there, and then went to do computer science at the university level as well. And then I've been that way ever since. So working with computers for many, many years now. Like at this point, I feel it's a calling at this point. Yeah. The other question that you asked, I think I've forgotten it because I was talking. Maybe just repeat.
Okay. So the question was on the pitfalls, the things that if you had realized earlier, maybe you would have done them better as a person getting into tech.
The pitfalls. I think, like in my personal case, the pitfall maybe was lack of refinement earlier on, because there's a stage where you have the chance to do proper refinement. Yeah, like where you can do proper refinement before the real world hits, because you like between like high school all through to end of campus. That time, your only job as a student is to study and to do very well. But then I think if I had put more effort into further reading, into further reading, into further practice, it will have gone much better and much faster. Of course, I've been fortunate enough to be in good spaces where things went well. But looking back now, once I finished campus, life became very interesting in terms of the level of business and the level of responsibility So the time to really enhance the skill and refine isn't there yet as it will be when you're back in a school setting where your only role is to study. Of course, some people have to work while studying, but you get the drift. In addition, now that's my personal pitfall. Of course, I'm good now, but I could have been better. The second one that I think I have seen courtesy now of being able to train people over a long time now. I told you that we've had like the two team members like all through since like I began from as a hobby back in campus, is that when people normally come, they normally come because they've been promised that in technology there is so much money to be made. However, what they fail to understand is that that money being made, it is being made courtesy of competence and value. So you find somebody goes, say, on YouTube, does a YouTube clone, does a Google clone, and then like says that, oh, I know software engineering, but the nuances that come up in engineering come up only by real experience. So to be able to get at a particular level that where most young people normally envy others, to be able to reach there, you must have a way that you're properly like refined over time, because at that level of compensation there are mistakes you cannot make. And so it is these stepping stones, like you got maybe like an internship here or maybe like a project here. That project, even if they didn't pay you well, you did it to the best of your ability. So basically faithfulness. I have done work at the time, yeah, I have done work at some point until I become like I was close to being mentally unstable, and I wasn't paid for that particular work. And so for that reason, most of the lessons learned during that project for the last like 6 years, because and then from there on, when now an easier chance opens up, it becomes, like you now are able to steer better, like you're able to work out things better. So the pitfall is expecting a particular level of compensation at a particular level when your skill set doesn't match that level of compensation. And so if you get a chance to apply yourself, you despise it and you don't do your best because you're waiting for something better. So yeah, that is one pitfall I have seen with people that train and with people that I get to speak to, because which didn't pan out as well, because after like 1 week, 2 weeks, they're like, this thing is too slow. This thing is like becoming good enough is too slow. And so this wasn't my expectation. So that is the pitfall I've seen with others. And my personal pitfall has been, I wish I would have spent time further refining and sharpening focus when I had the time and I could only be studying and reading. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mila, for those highlights. I'd love to ask Irene, when it comes to tech, we have so many career choices. How did you land into yours? Because nowadays we have so many parts: front-end development, back-end, DevOps, data science, and all that, cybersec, prompt engineering, and every other thing. How did you identify yours, and perhaps the kind of challenges you faced when you were settling in your choice of career in tech?
Thank you, Douglas. So for me, I think my choice go way back to sessions that we had back in school. And this included sessions where maybe the developer groups that I was part of would invite maybe a professional in a certain career path within tech. And from there, I slowly gained interest in specific paths. I specifically had an interest in machine learning back then, before AI was all hyped and everything. And from then, I think it has just been a path that I started pursuing a long time ago as a volunteer. And then afterwards, I think I was just lucky enough to get a job at an organization that was dealing or helping small scaleholder farmers through developing computer vision models. And then afterwards, fortunately, I had a chance to also indulge into the blue economy sector, where I support young entrepreneurs grow their businesses using technology. So I'd say there's no direct path to any career path that you can take in tech. It's good to be open-minded. It's good to anticipate challenges, because even moving from like one career path to another is not easy. It takes time to learn, it takes time to unlearn, and it also takes time to relearn. Technology is also changing very often, and most of the time you'd find, probably if today maybe AI is the hype, in the next 2 years we wouldn't know what the hype will be. So as a techie or someone who's interested in tech, it's important to be open-minded to any path and anticipate challenges that you could possibly face. For me, I think one of the things that worked for me when it comes to transition is being open-minded and having a learning, like being anxious to gain information or learn how new systems work. The blue economy sector was entirely different. It was a new thing. I had not heard of it prior, but with so much anticipation and willingness to learn, it was an easy transition for me. Yeah, back to you, Douglas.
Thank you for that, Irene. I'd love us to talk about something else when it comes to compensation, our salaries in tech. And I'd love Ronald to give his perspective. And with regard to the following, we get into tech thinking there's a lot of money. So someone would be, yeah, there's a lot of money in tech. But if there's money in tech, then how do you get that money? Ronald, and again, if you could also share on the bit of, we have junior developers and engineers who are being exploited in terms of their compensation. What would be the right approach to the whole conversation around salaries? How do you position yourself as a techie so that, one, you're being compensated at least enough in terms of what you know, the time that you're giving, maybe the nature of your organization. Then number two, for someone who got into tech, they've been there for several years, but they haven't still hit those margins in terms of salary that they would expect. What would be your advice or feedback to that kind of a group in tech? Ronald?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, so I think for salaries, and you know, the myth about salaries, there's a lot, okay, all around, but when it comes to salaries, there's a lot of factors and variables that come into play when it comes to determining how much you can earn, okay, depending on your level of experience as well. So right now in the industry in Kenya here, so you it depends with the organization you are in, okay, or the company you are working for. So that will also play a role in determining how much you can earn. So, but you find some cases, if you're a junior, developer or an entry level, and you don't have like enough skills to negotiate or about your salary, because you may be skilled enough, you know what you can deliver, you know what you can do, but you don't have the negotiation skills to negotiate your salary. Okay, so you may be exploited in such that you may be offering much, but your salary is not matching the kind of experience or expertise you're offering to the organization. So I think for people who are starting off in tech careers, you need to really know how to negotiate as well. Negotiation skills are very important when it comes to salaries. yes, you've qualified for you've passed, the interview, the test, the codility test, and whatever. But when you don't know how to communicate and say your expectations regarding salary, you may be exploited. Okay, so but if you know how to go around this, you may be in a good place. Okay, so in tech is mostly in tech, it's easy to get exploited because most tech people, you find they're introverts and they don't know how to express themselves. Okay, so whatever you are being offered, you just flow with it. Okay, but what I'd advise most, for most people, the most people who are affected is usually the juniors or the entry levels. That's where the most problem is. But for mid-level or senior, that one is not majorly a problem. So yeah, that's it. So based on your skills and what you can deliver, and you believe that, and you have demonstrated that you can do what is required of your job role. Yeah, I'm waiting for exam to ask what I to come to my home.
It's okay, Ron. One day they'll have to compensate you with their salary. Yeah. We can talk about what has been happening in the tech spaces, and you'll allow me to go through some of the headlines that have been there recently. This is TikTok. And we can see that recently in US, some of the TikTok shop employees are being notified about some of the layoffs that are yet to happen. We also have big companies crushing middle managers. Yes, we have Microsoft that had slashed off about 6,000 employees. We have Intel. Intel has also done that to some of the employees. Then Amazon as well, Google, Meta. Yeah, you realize this is now no longer something far away from us. But really, when it comes to layoffs, we cannot tend to give a blind eye to what is happening. Walmart has also been there. About 1,500 employees have been laid off. Microsoft, which has been the talk of town, with 3% of their workers, is about 6,000. And some have already been affected. As we think through the tech layoffs, and Mila, I would love you to respond. This is one of the HR managers in Meta, or formerly Facebook. And she's saying, I'd been working in HR for nearly 15 years when I was hired by Facebook in 2018. When the company began implementing layoffs in 2023, part of my role was helping guide the company through the process. I felt passionate about doing layoffs in the right way. So she's saying that she worked for Meta for nearly 5 years. She was a very high performer. She received great ratings, had good relationships, and was acknowledged for exceeding expectations. In the end, I was shocked and devastated to learn that this very Meta layoff would also impact my role too. Yeah, so she's concluding by saying that things can change anytime, anywhere, and no one is in control. Mila, what would be your take on tech layoffs for those who are getting into tech?
Thank you very much. I think I'll segue from what Ronald was speaking about in terms of salaries and like being exploited. So he spoke very well about like get into a job, and then you're paid ABCD, and then like we move on. Now, one thing about layoffs is that at the end of the day, when you write code for business. You must understand how a business operates. Business operates by value. At the end of the day, there's a balance sheet that has to like balance. Okay, wait. At the end of the day, what it's about what? Like an income statement which exists. So in this income statement, we have like a business. You have goods on sale, you have revenue. To be able to like run any business and to keep it afloat, what you sell, or like your entire team, like what you sell, and all the factors which are considered or which are required for the sale to happen, the revenue must exceed those factors. If I am selling mangoes, say I bought them at 5 shillings, and then transportation cost 9 shillings, and then I must sell them at least 9 shillings. That way, I don't encounter a loss and be unable to get mangoes to be able to sell tomorrow. So understanding this helps one know how exactly to proceed. When you jump onto a project, you're not paid because of what? Because of how good you are. You're paid because of how much value you bring into a business, to an organization, and if they can afford you at that level. All right. So once the business is doing badly, then if you are a cost center is someone who is consuming money or who is consuming resources. But as you consume those resources, they don't translate into efficient delivery, into profit. If you are a cost center, then you will be cut. That's just like what it is. You will be cut if the business deems you to be of less value compared to other people. It's never that you're good enough. It's never that you are a bad person. It's just that at the end of the day, if the value you bring isn't sufficient enough to be able to drive delivery, you will be cut. Number two, in some tech jobs, you find that you build systems to replace you, so that if say you hire like 10 people, you build a system, then once your work on that system is over, that system basically does all your jobs, and then you get replaced. At these levels of business, it's never personal. It's just that the CEO, the director, always has to ensure that profits are optimized at all particular costs. So you will be cut once your role. So like if I was had like to build a system that does ABCD, once it's done, I should consider myself eligible for a layoff when it's about to happen. And so the way you prevent that is then to ensure that you're jumping from a valuable project to another valuable project every single time, so that you're always useful to the organization in case you want to be there, which can lead to like a burnout kind of thing. But at least if your desire is to maintain a job, that's how you maintain one, by working on valuable things at every single point in time. And then lastly, so that was like the physical factor, which allows you to like remain there, because at the end of the day, it's just business, it's not personal. And then I guess there's like put out like out here that probably not the right place to like put this out there, but again, where does your hope lie in? Because for some people, because of how these things operate, you find out maybe you're going into a place where like you aren't meant to be in, and so the layoff, aside from it being an economic thing, comes as a way of redirection for you to be able to be taken to where you're supposed to be. So I'll stop there to allow someone else to pick it up.
Okay. Thank you, Mila, for that. That the layoff could also be a redirection. Okay. Perhaps it's time we at times consider maybe our tech career decisions. I'd love to pick up on Ray on AI revolution, because we have quite a number of things that we are talking about, but you're also not limited to respond to any previous topic that we've addressed. So Ray, you are in the content creation field, or at least those spaces that come up with content in a more creative way. I don't know what has been the effect of AI in your field as a person who is already in those spaces.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Douglas. Yeah, I'm loving the conversation. And when we talk about AI, in my experience in the digital industry, you would call it, or content creation field, I think AI is very evident because when we talk about content creation, we create content for social media platforms. And the social media platforms are what we use every day. So we are actually seeing the AI everywhere. And this means we have people who are using AI for good. They are actually using it, to improve their work, to improve productivity, to make, the routine tasks in their work, to save time. But also, I think my biggest concern has been the other side of AI, where we have these tools that are sometimes even not created in our context. AI tools that are not created, when I say in our context, in African context. So really, they are coming from the West. They are free. Some of them, you just need to pay a small amount and you're able to access the premium, accessibility. And these tools are not fitting well with our tasks. They are not fitting well with our context. So really, you have to really work hard to make the tool work for you. So there's that issue of context. Really, some of the tools are not able really to work in our context. For example, I do content creation, and sometimes I require maybe a voiceover. Okay, personally, I do voiceover, but I was just trying one of these tools that does voiceover or voice recording. You can generate voice, you can just put a script and it gives you a voiceover. And the voiceovers that I'm getting are not the Kenyan English, or I can't get a Kenyan English voiceover. I can't get even a closest African accent that I can get is Nigerian. And now these tools, I found that tool was not working for me. And I think we are tech people here. We know how AI models are created. They are created with data. And that means whoever was feeding that model data, they were feeding the data that was available for them. And if that model was created in the Western world, that means the data that they got was from the Western world. So that means that tool, secondly, might, kind of be biased in one way or another. So you might really, if you're looking for information, we use, for example, the tool that is largely used among everyone right now. I think everyone knows is ChatGPT, Gemini. And those are tools that are created by data that is not in our context. So really, you might not really get like what you're looking for. I think another thing that has made me feel concerned about AI tool in my industry would be where we actually now have tools that are generating very good pictures, very good videos. And I think now, because they are in our hands, and some of us are not, do not have good motives, or some people do not have good motives. So we are generating pictures that are would really, when it comes to ethic, would fall on the other side of really this is not right. And when you use that tool to generate something and post it on the social media, you have all that freedom, yes. But how I'm thinking at how are we able to regulate to what extent we can use these tools and for what reasons, Yeah. So I think those are the few issues that I would point out when it comes to the AI tools. But on the other side, really, I think it's an area, if you're a content creator or someone who really uses the social media platforms or the digital platform, many digital platforms, I think these are tools that we can all engage in, and you can try what works for you. You can pay for the one that works for you and use it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for those highlights. There's that conversation that AI is replacing quite a number of the professionals that are out there, but you realize it's like content creation seems to be standing out, or art. What's your comment on that, Ray? Can AI
Well,
replace creativity?
not really. I don't think it can really. Well, AI models, they can really do some really good tasks, some things that the human brain can take a lot of time to do. There is that area. But for me, I am inclined more to think that no AI tool can be as creative as the human brain. I tend to think that way because I believe every human being is really unique. We get really unique ideas. Like Irene would come up with a very unique idea that is very original, same to Mila, same to Ronald, and I can come up with a very unique idea. But an AI tool really might not reach there in terms of creativity. It might help you enhance your idea. I think how we can use it is that you can feed it information about your idea, and it can help you maybe generate something that is closer to what you're thinking about, or to help you, even brainstorm and all that. But in terms of creativity, I don't think an AI is creative. Really, we all know that an AI model is the quality of an AI model is determined by the quality of the data it was fed. So really, if the data is this amount, that means whatever that AI model gives you is from that amount of data. So for me, I'm inclined more to think that I don't think it can replace us. What will happen is that we will need to learn how to use them to work alongside the AI tools. We can't ignore the fact that the tools are there and they're coming every day. I think I sit down one week and I'm already seeing people generating some weird things, and I'm like, which AI tool is this? We have to keep up. So what we have to learn is that we have to learn to work alongside the AI tools, so that they don't replace our jobs. So it's more of learn to use the tools, keep on, getting to know which tool is new, how is it being used, how can I leverage it in my work, and how can it make my work easier as a content creator, or as a creator, or as a creative. But I don't think it can replace our jobs. So it's more of learning to use the tool alongside your work. Yes.
Okay, that was quite elaborate. We are still on AI, and I'd love us to go through some of the headlines around. So let me just share them. The AI layoffs begin. Yeah, this is a public post by someone on LinkedIn, and they were saying that no job is safe anymore. That is with regard to AI. You can check out that post, it's public. So your job is not your safety net anymore. And now, thinking of it, there are very many companies that are restructuring because of AI. There's also this other post from these big four tech companies, EY, Deloitte, KPMG, and PwC. What they are doing right now, they are tending to transform, or at least adjust in some way, to have AI fit into their structures. Irene is in the AI spaces, so you'll talk about AI from because you also develop models, you'd give us your feedback, especially with what Ray has mentioned, that the accuracy of AI is as good as the data fed into it. Perhaps you'd give a comment on that. Then we also see some of the AI companies that won't let you use AI when you're applying for a job there. It's very ironical. And I know, Ronald, you can be in a better position to maybe give feedback on that. You see a company developing AI models not allowing you to use AI when applying for jobs there. So, Ronald, you can go first. Then, if you're already back, yeah, then Irene.
Okay. I think the question is more of the companies that are not allowing you to use AI, the companies that are, developing AI. I think most of these companies know very well. In most of the cases, I've seen these big companies hyping AI is going to replace jobs and is going to do things that we cannot do. And because I'm a software engineer, and I tend to think that most of these companies hyping this kind of thing is just to, because they're also selling something. Okay, because right now you see like in software, like we are being pushed for this AI coding agents. You can code with AI. Right now we are not doing software engineering, we are doing prompt engineering. Now you can just talk in natural language and the AI generates code for you and to do things, and in return you are paying for that particular AI. So when we see such kind of supplements, it's a behavioral change they're trying to enforce to the software fraternity, so that you get this kind of perspective that now you need not to know how to code, but just know how to prompt engineer. Okay, so but coding is still very an important skill in developing software, because you need to know how to debug, how to understand workflows, and how everything works. Okay, but these companies, you may see they're just hyping. I saw Mark Zuckerberg the other days, and even the CEO for Microsoft saying that a large percentage of their code is being written by AI. It's not, we can't have the actual facts, but they're just doing this for marketing stints, so that we can all adopt all these products that they're pushing out there to help people to code and generate software, and in return we get to pay for whatever products they're selling to us. Okay, largely in the African market, because in the African market we are still trying to discover ourselves, and we're still trying to learn new things. We even don't have really the ability to develop these AI agents from scratch, or just getting our own unique AI stuff. But we are majorly consuming things that are coming from outside. So when they push this agenda, I think they're mostly just trying to get us into buying whatever products they're selling, and consuming the products they're giving to us. So no matter whatever is being pushed and saying that we don't need to know how to code, we just need to know how to use AI, we also need to just really pay keen attention to learning the key fundamentals, the skills, and knowing how to do things, okay, with or without AI, because that's what wins at the end of the day. Because even if AI generates code for you, you'll still need to know how to debug it, because most of the time I've used AI myself to do projects here and there. In fact, sometimes the code is crappy, and sometimes it just does things that are out of place. Okay, but it's your ability to know how to debug it and understand. You become like sort of a code reviewer for AI now. You know how to review the code and see what it has, how it has reason to get the code to you, and how you can fix it as well, or give it better prompts to fix the code that you have. But if you don't know how to code yourself, and you don't know the principles of programming and creating software, you still be stuck. You won't go anywhere. You won't build a very productive or scalable software with just prompting alone. You need very more detailed things and more advanced knowledge about programming to build scalable software and solutions that can serve hundreds or if thousands of people out there. Okay, just typing in English is not enough. Okay, you still need to know the advanced things and principles in programming. So we, in as much as they're being pushed that we shouldn't use AI, or we shouldn't, if you're going to a company that is creating AI or developing AI, you shouldn't use it. We can use it as an assistant, really. You can just use it as an assistant to make us more productive, because there's some things that are very, redundant or repeatable that you don't want to do. AI can assist you with such kind of tasks, but the technical ones, you need to direct it and be in charge of whatever things you're doing, or coding. If you're doing a project, you need to be in charge. You don't let the AI be in charge 100% of the time. You need to take charge of the code, and you need to understand everything. Okay, understanding the thing that AI is giving you is also another skill, so that you need to know what you're doing, what AI is giving you, so that you don't just flow with the vibe. It's called vibe coding nowadays. So you just don't vibe with the code. You have to understand. You have to have deep knowledge. So still, even if most, because right now where the future is going, that is even non-technical people will be able to create software without even understanding things. But still, programming skills will be very necessary, because you need to debug, you need to fix things, you need business logic to be implemented, you need certain specific customizable things to be implemented in any project that you're doing. So I think to wrap it up, in software development, you still need to know the basics of coding, programming, and software in general, and understand what you're doing before even you go to use AI. Yeah.
Thank you, Ronald. That was very high level sort of feedback with relation to software engineering. Irene, you are our expert when it comes to AI, because you are someone who develops those models. You would debunk some of the myths for us, as well as give us maybe a technical perspective about really what AI does, in terms of the algorithms, the accuracy, and the whole conversation you're having. Are we overrating it, or is it something that you really feel, from your own perspective, it's really a game changer for the tech industry? So, to you, Irene.
Thank you, Douglas. I think I've been holding a couple of thoughts for like a minute and a half, and maybe I can take us back a little to the origin or the evolution of AI. And as a person who's used AI for quite some time at work, and even for my personal errands, because most of the time, maybe when I need to get somewhere and I need an itinerary, I won't sit and start looking for places. I'll just go to ChatGPT, ask it, I need to be here at this time. I need to spend this much amount of money. Where can I go? What can I do? etc. So I get to step back. It's unfortunate that AI is good and bad, that we can't deny. It has its good side, it has its bad side. Unfortunately, it's affecting most jobs, and this goes hand in hand even with the USAID projects layoff, and most people were affected, most projects were affected. And to be honest, it's a tough time. It's a tough economic time. And that being said, I'd like us to probably shift our perspective, or our perspective a little. As much as we have the negative side of AI, we still have the positive side of AI. Case in point, people who do not have the coding skills or do not understand how codes work, they can easily generate codes, and the same code generator can easily interpret what the code does, or how to deploy it, or how to use it. As much as maybe someone else loses a job, unfortunately, because of AI, it can also create a new job for someone else. I'll give my example. Initially, to be honest, I didn't know how chatbots are created or even how they operate. But with tools that are already trained on how to self-generate or self-train, I can easily modify content to be able to create a chatbot without having to create any code or having to deploy it somewhere. And that opportunity is already an eye-opener to anyone else who is in the tech industry or anyone else who is not in the tech industry. For example, someone like Rehab, if she's a creative in the creative industry and she'd like maybe to utilize some tools that can make her work easier in another industry, that already is an opportunity that is being created. And as we can see, or as we can learn from big companies such as KPMG, most of them are restructuring or being open-minded to moving to new technologies. It's unfortunate that most people will lose job because of AI, but it's also an eye-opener for anyone who's willing to have a different perspective to life, anyone who's willing to change maybe their career path. We do not have necessarily to say because maybe I was in the human resource management team, I have to move to another company or move to another place and still be the human resource manager or be in the human resource management team. You can move to a different sector, but still use technology in a way that is helpful to you. Maybe I'm being delusional, I don't know. But I've also seen people being told as much as opportunities are going to be slashed off, new opportunities are going to be created. And I was just doing some random chat with my chat GPT, who is always like here next to me because I mean you never know what time you may need him or her. And was just asking it what new opportunities could we get from AI or what new opportunities can be created by AI. And at the moment, I have approximately 18 new ideas, including fashion and beauty, virtual try-ons, trend predictions, sustainable fashion. I also have religion and spirituality, which I know Douglas and Ray are in. There's AI-powered devotions, virtual religious guidance, translation of ancient text. I don't know, again, maybe it could be delusional, but it will be also important for us to be open-minded, to see ways that technology can work for us or ways that we can work together with technology. Douglas, I hope that makes sense.
It really does. Thank you. There is the good and the bad side of AI, but thank you for debunking those for us. We can shift our gears a little bit to something that has been happening in Kenya, and you'll allow me to just present something here that I know would be relatable to the very many who are watching us right now. This particular thing, at the sight of it, you're already laughing because this is not just, these are not just memes. This is some communication being made. We have a communications expert in the house, Simiyu. You can say hi to us and also give us your comment on representation of the youth or how communication is made within the tech spaces. So welcome, Simiyu, if you're on the call.
Thank you so much, Douglas. That is a surprise. Actually, I was joining to listen, not to talk. Leo nimepatwa. Actually, I'm in the office, so allow me not to turn on my camera because of the background stuff that I hear. On the screen, what you are seeing, on the communication side, I will say also this one reflect to us because as we progress, especially us who are in tech, at some point, I will say avoid cameras in case you are not a good communication expert. You are very good at writing code, but you're not good at speaking in an audience. So the reason why these memes are coming, it's because the minister was asked something and his answer was off. Like, okay, we are migrating, all our computers will have motherboards. Then he's like, okay, zitapewa sha. So like those jokes reflect to us, especially as techies. Sometimes we find ourselves here. So it's important. You can have a spokesperson if you run a startup. Get people to talk about your technology outside there. You do the math and the coding. Yeah. So thank you, Douglas. I think you can repeat the question so that I give exact answer. Ulinipata off guard. Yes.
Okay. With regard to this, do you think the youth or the youthful, say, age, the techies who are maybe upcoming, are they well represented? Because this could also be, from my personal interpretation, something like a mockery, because there are people who would have done this better. If you're migrating to the cloud, we don't need an airplane to take us to the cloud, because this is an old, quote unquote, person interpreting what the cloud is. If you talk about TB, we are talking about terabytes, but it could also mean tuberculosis, But do you feel they are better? We are somehow disadvantaged in Kenya as the young minds in terms of representation, especially when it comes to the national governance.
Yeah, thanks. I now get the question. Yeah, it's true. We are not represented well up there, especially here in Kenya. I have had a privilege to sit in some board meetings and also to contribute my ideas. And at some point, you will find people gauge us, especially now is like a profiling. You get into the room and somebody will like, okay, so when is Gen Z? So already wameshaku write off, especially if they are old people. And if you have had a privilege to get into these government offices, you'll realize that those key decision makers are old people. I will quote this. I was listening to Vusi and Vusi Tembekwayo, and he was saying that if your degree is more than 10 years, if your previous degree is more than 10 years, then just know that you are already outdated in the market. So you'll find that somebody have been in office for more than 30 years and they have never upgraded themselves. So what normally happens, especially here in Kenya, when the lawmakers, the decision makers, these CEOs and managers, when they are not able to understand the technology, they will come up with a way of pinning it down. You have seen what is happening with the finance bill. I hope you have checked the finance bill 2025. So there are some lawmakers that are not able to understand the technologies that are there. So what they are doing, they come up with law to push it down. So I will say we are not well represented. So we need people to go up there. Unfortunately, in Africa, sometimes you have to queue and wait for nature to take its course. Somebody to retire, to get out of office so that you can be in that position and make an influence. But what is the good news? The good news is we have this space. Yeah, even if we don't sit on those decision-making tables, we can push the conversation on this platform. We can put the pressure outside there, and who know? The more they say that the truth is the one that is mostly spoken. Yeah. So sometimes kitu inaweza kuwa ya uongo, but as much as it appears on your screen, as much as it appears on your newspaper and on your screens, then somehow it might be treated as truth. So we can push the conversation. Let's adopt tech without fear, but we still have a long way to go, especially here in Kenya. Those people who sit at the table of decision making, they are not aware even how to convert Word document to PDF, but they are talking about tech transforming Africa. Yeah, back to you, Douglas.
Okay, thank you. So at least there's hope that we can still join these spaces. There's that AI something sort of bill that is underway. I don't know if it's been implemented or not. Perhaps if there could be feedback on that, then someone could respond. Mila, what's your comment on what you are talking about?
Thank you very much. I think as Simio has mentioned, it is true what is happening. Now, in addition to his comments, I'd like to bring in different perspective, rather like an additional perspective, which I think, like as young people, we do miss all the time. So, courtesy of my consulting work, the last couple of here, and I'm telling you, the reason why we have these kinds of things happening is that when you come in a place of leadership, there are interests you have to balance. So many people think that it's just, oh, I know how to code. Oh, I did an IT degree. I did ABCD. I did ABCD. But what people fail to understand, there are multiple interests that you have to balance. And those interests most times are never known to you until you step into the office. And that is how you find that many people who end up in these offices, either they do the worst job, or interests are too terrible. These interests, they can basically like damage and harm your soul. And unless you have the capacity to be able to
Mila, you're having good points, but I think we are missing out. You're breaking. Yeah. But maybe as you fix your internet, we can talk about gender in technology. So this would majorly go to Ray and Irene. How does it feel working in a male-dominated career? Because tech is heavily male-dominated. How is it? How is your experience? Maybe we can start with Ray. How has it been working in a male? I even guess, Ray, your colleagues, almost all of all of them are gents. I mean, how is it? And how do you survive? Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it is true that the creative industry, tech industry, or most of the time any industry that works very directly with technology is male dominated. And I think one reason is I think it's somehow out of our control, more of from Kitambo. The society has always had these roles of, these jobs are for women, these jobs are for men. And that's what we found. But out of my experience, I think for me, I have not, most of the time, I usually even don't notice that I work with men or I'm the only lady most of the time, maybe in a team, until someone actually mentions it. And I think one, it's because I stood out. I kind of when I was in the university, the course that I took, I started really nilianza kujituma mapema so that I can become better. Actually, most of the time, most of the skills that I have, I was actually taught by men. That means I, for example, camera work. I will walk around with camera, I will film and all that. And all this I learned from men. I remember a guy in campus, he was in fourth year and I was in first year. And just seeing him with a camera and it would just fascinate me. And I actually went ahead and asked him, how can I learn? And he would teach me. You'll find as a woman, actually, men that are in the industry are willing to teach you. And that way, whatever I learned, I remember when I got a camera, I started practicing it, but also going ahead and to research by myself. When I started video editing, my first ever video, I was guided by a guy called Joel. And I remember very well, I would call even when he was not there. Nimefika hapa, what do I do after this? And I started learning and I became good. So I think it's a reality that our industry is male dominated. But I think one thing that has helped me is to stand out, because if you don't, really, you might give up. So you need to stand out, you need to get the skills, you need to be good at it, you need to kujituma, you go ahead and research by yourself, and also have the confidence to ask questions, because you'll find many of the men will actually be willing to help you. I recently attended a women event, women that are in technology. And these would be maybe in IT. I think there were women in animation, gaming, and digital creative industry. And one of the lady was actually asked that question, and she's in gaming. The same men, it's a male dominated industry, and she's in technology and she creates games, African games. And what she said is that out of her experience when it comes to the gender, is that men are women, she said, we drop off quickly. I don't know if that is true. Maybe Irene can can mention this when it comes to her. We drop off quickly, and even out of my own experience, because I work with students, and I like getting students who are, when it comes to attaches, who are ladies. And most of the time you'll work with a girl, you find she's passionate about camera, she's passionate about walking around in this doing the technical part of media, and she's interested. But after some time, I don't know what happens, whether it's, I don't know if it's passion or she finds it difficult to continue, but you find she has pivoted to some other path. And that has been my experience. And I don't know if this is true, but I think maybe what we need is some sort of resilience. It's good also to acknowledge that actually the industry is having more women coming in. It's not like we are not growing. We're actually having more ladies coming into technology, coming into the media industry and the creative industry. And that is true. They're coming in, but really hatujafika bado hapo, hatujabalance bado. So I think one thing maybe we can do is more of, I don't know how we can build resilience, where that you can actually be disciplined, that when you're mentored as a young woman, or when you get someone to work with you in this industry, that you can actually remain disciplined and remain resilient, besides the challenges that will come along, that you can remain resilient and remain disciplined. But also, I think for me, what I usually say, it is okay to pivot. It's okay to pause. When you're learning or when you're going through, a hard time in your career, it's okay to pause and maybe just reflect, but don't give up. Don't give up. Remain disciplined, because that's what will keep you here. And because we work with technology, it keeps on advancing. So really, the skills that you're learning in 2 weeks, let me just say even in 1 week, you'll probably need to learn something new so that you can continue being in the industry. So the thing of upskilling, that you will need to look for platforms where you can continue learning these skills and continue learning what is happening in the industry, continue learning the tools, continue getting to know new tools that are coming that you can use, that can improve your work. So upskilling, but also building resilient and remaining disciplined. I think that is one thing that I would recommend for any young lady who is aspiring to be in the industry. Yeah, and work hard to become good. That's how you really remain among the male-dominated industry. Work hard to be good, and know that also men are willing to teach you. They are not just there because they are dominating the industry. They are not just there and happy. No, most of them are actually willing to work with someone and help you learn. Yeah, so that's what I would say. Maybe Irene can add on something. Thank you.
Thank you, Rehab. Just to echo on what you've said, it's true. Most of the time, being in the tech industry or being in most male-dominated industries, you really have to have the resilience. For me, what works, I think, I think I've just been on survival mode. But mainly what has worked for me is the interest or how much I enjoy working on challenging tasks. Most of the time, I find it easy or I find it fulfilling to actually find a solution to something that was initially challenging. And that has always been my driving force behind things surviving or being in the tech industry for this long. And having spoken to other women as well in the tech industry, resilience is something that really stands out. At the same time, you still have to have interest in projects that you're working on. Good thing. Not all tech projects have to be difficult or all tech projects have to be technical. We have some interesting sides. I really find graphic design to be interesting because it's something that maybe you can just play with different templates, different colors, and come up with something that can be appealing in the eye. We can also agree that we have our strengths and we have our areas of improvement. And the only way to work together with the two of them is to embrace them. Embrace what works for you as a woman. If maybe you know you're more active at night or more active in the morning, take that time to learn something new. Take that time to work on challenging projects that need your focus time. If maybe your area of interest is something like putting together colorful stuff, you can learn even front end web design. And from there, you can be able to embrace your areas of strength and bring them out, and also be open to teach others and be open to learn. It's unfortunate that most of the time we see men as objects of competition or people whom we are supposed to be as strong as they are. That's not the case. Men are stronger naturally, and the moment you learn that, you can lean on their strength. It makes life easy. It even makes learning easy. And eventually you realize they win, we all win. That's it from my end, Douglas. Back to you.
Thank you. At least for the ladies in tech who are watching, you heard from your colleagues who are already there in STEM. Perhaps when maybe we are coming to an end, Irene would also give some feedback on encouraging women to join STEM. Mila, there's something you're saying before you had you were breaking at some point, but there was really a very good perspective you are giving with relation to what Simiyu was saying. If you can kindly repeat that for us.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I dropped off. So I think in summary, as we begin to conclude, is that I am learning this by experience, by observation as well, like by observing, because again, there's no need to make the same mistake twice when someone has made a mistake and learned and paid very dearly for it. So I am learning that the reason why maybe I just my video off. So the reason why some people normally have problems, rather like why we have poor representation, is that as young people, we fail to account for the aspect of balancing of interests and pressure management, because any position that requires you to be in charge of many things will come with so much pressure. For many of us young people, we will crack under pressure. And so you find that it is those like older people, as you put it, that are able to handle the pressure. And then if maybe they went to school and they learned a bit, they're then able to what? They're then able to at least make something moving, because if you are unable to handle pressure, there are offices you cannot occupy. And so the ones who occupy them are basically crying out to those who have the skill to come and help. And yeah, like once again, based on some consulting like I've been doing, I've been learning so much from some people. And all I can say is that in the balancing of these interests, your life is always at stake. So unless you're willing to give up your life for particular offices, you will allow those who, or rather like those who are older, those who are a particular way will continue to occupy them because you are unable to take on the pressure that comes with the pressure, the interests that you must balance that come with these particular offices. And so I think if you're a Christian, you know the story of Daniel. Yeah, so those kinds of things do need to happen. But the people who are supposed to step up and make them happen are basically, like, in a sense, cowards in a sense, because because you're always like complain, but then you don't take up the initiative to be able to step in into being able to handle pressure. And if you're determined to be like, oh, I want to be the youngest person, maybe to become CS for this, CS for that, the best gift you can ever receive is being put in a place where you have to handle too much pressure, or like so much pressure, because it is that gives you the training required to be able to hold some of these offices. The people have learned this from are not the ones you see on television. These people, most of them do not even want to be known, because it is by remaining underground that they continue to survive. But so that's all I can say for now, that as young people, we must be willing to come to a place of being able to manage pressure. There is competence, yes, but then there is managing pressure and balancing interest. And for me as a Christian, the only way that happens is if you're a faithful follower of Jesus, not by mouth, not by, but by your lifestyle. Because, like, in the sense that you're willing to like die for the perspective of Jesus. So unless you are at that point, you're basically a Christian by mouth. And so it is those Christians that end up making a bad name for for the Lord when they end up in these particular places. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. We have a role to make in as far as we are in tech. I believe this the role of what happens outside us, but as Mila you put it, we also have roles as the direct players in the industry. I would want us to shift gears to mental health and look at some of the things that have been happening around tech. You realize there are people who glamorize working late. You're always on. You're either hustling late night shifts. You are shipping some MVP somewhere. Working with the pipelines at the expense of your health, so that eventually you lead into anxiety, depression, isolation, and all that. Ronald, I don't know on your end, how has it been when it comes to taking care of your mental health? And as you talk about that, I'd want us to look at a certain employee in Amazon. So this is what she was saying, that she got to a place where she experienced burnout. This is someone from Amazon. This is also a post that I pulled from one of the, as we were mobilizing for this particular event. And someone was saying it's in a public group, but I've hidden the name and of course the phone number. But they were saying that they used to work 24/7 in DevSecOps. So they eventually experienced burnout. So Ronald, I don't know how it has been for you when it comes to working in tech. How do you go about your mental wellness? Maybe you can share with us and some of the things that perhaps you feel people can do better. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that question. So I think when you're working in tech, mental health is a very important subject you should consider. In most cases, you find people don't really prioritize it, and they find themselves, in the pits, right? So in tech, mostly you find yourself overworking or doing tasks beyond work hours. Okay. So for me, basically, I've been in the startup ecosystem for a very long time because I've just experienced employment for a very short time, but for the longest time of my existence, I've been just in the startup ecosystem, running my own startup. Okay, so I've experienced that, of course, with my other colleagues. Startup ecosystem. So this is a very serious, thing that people don't take seriously. When you're supposed to be taking a break, or relaxing, or not doing your work related times beyond the work hours, and you're still working. So in tech is a very common thing. You'll find yourself working beyond the work hours and doing things that you're not supposed to do at the right time. Okay, so it may overwhelm you because you have the pressure to deliver, or to do things, or to impress your superiors by having to deliver something, and they may take advantage of that and just give you tasks, because if you are a soft landing, and they'll just give you things to do, even if it's not at your exited working times, because tomorrow you have presentation to do, or a stand up to do. You have to do it throughout the night, and stress yourself up for that thing, for a deadline that is coming up, and etc. Okay, so you really have to know how to prioritize and plan your work in advance and accordingly, so that you don't find yourself really burning out, doing things in very weird hours, or delivering tasks beyond weird hours, because you really need to find a balance between work and your own personal life and mental health as well. And you may find also in tech, mostly you find that they have very strict expectations, or unrealistic expectations of the deliverables you're supposed to do, so which also push people to work extra hours and stuff like that. But I think generally, you as a tech person, because that's where I am, and I've experienced most of these things. You need to really prioritize and plan your work well, so that you don't get overwhelmed with things at certain times. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So I think for tech people, you just have to prioritize your work and know when to do what at what time. Okay, yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Ronald. Those are very good highlights, and I know the audience is picking up. We also have quite a number of questions on the chat box. So if you're still sending questions, you can type them there. If you want a specific question directed to any of the panelists, you can also mention that. We'll have a segment, and I think Simiyu will guide us in that segment. Ray, you are a mental wellness champion. What would be your honest perspective when it comes to how we handle our mental health issues? I can see you even have some. Is it a tag or what? Yeah,
It's a
I don't know
ribbon.
what it's a ribbon. Yeah, representing. Maybe you can tell us more about mental wellness. You seem to be very passionate about it.
Yeah. I think when we talk about mental health, and now that we are talking about technology, apparently studies that have been conducted so many times and over the years actually point out that technology is now one of the biggest factor when it comes to our mental health. And this is why. First, because we are all, I think 67% of world population is online. That's what studies say. So we are online, like we are spending a lot of time online. We have access to all the digital technology. Secondly, is because as people who now work in technology or with technology, remote work has become very normal. And when it comes to remote work, that means you can work anytime, or you can work in a different what is it called? Time time difference. Really, you can work for someone in another continent, and that means you're probably working a different time frame when it comes to where you are, and many other factors that are comes with technology. So technology, we have to acknowledge, is one of the biggest factor, or we can even call it cause when it comes to mental health. Actually, when we look closely to social media usage, we usually there's a study that says for young people who use 7 and above social media platforms are more likely to have, actually 3 times likely to have depression and anxiety than people who use 2 or 2 below 2 social media platforms. And that is really, really worrying, because that means something that is really helping us and it's part of our lives and we can't control is causing us some sort of harm when it comes to our mental health. But this is what I usually say. And I'll talk to the users of technology, and for us who use technology for work, I think I would say is to understand that technology works 24 hours. And there's a document, I think it's more of a book that I was reading of how technology has shaped us. Tech is created, or people who create technology, they created to work 24 hours. Unless we don't have power or some sort of what powers technology, like now steamer, unless our devices do not have power, we are going to continue using them all the time, because they do not get tired, they do not need to sleep, they do not need to rest. And that means they can work 24 hours. And that's why we are finding ourselves extending even to work for 16, 18 hours per day. But also, when we understand that, is to know that also technology now has shaped us not to rest. Ideally, an adult is meant to sleep for 6 to 8 hours, really. But especially for us who work with technology, find ourselves really, we are sleeping at most 5 hours. And I think there's a time I had posted something to do with technology and wellness, and actually he's in tech, and he was telling me he usually spends his screen time is over, I think, 14 hours. And I know why, because they work online. He's a tech person. So you can imagine, really, there's a lot of things that are happening when we say technology is shaping us not to rest. And when we have that understanding, now we need to know how do we regulate that, or how do we manage that. But also now there's that other part where now the consumers of technology, the consumers of these platforms, especially social media platforms, where we are enjoying the content, we are enjoying the reels, we are enjoying the pictures on Instagram. And what that does is that the much that we consume really is shaping us on how we view the world, how we view ourselves, how we view what we do, what we like, what we don't like. And what I'm talking here is actually the comparison or the peer pressure that comes with the content that we consume online. They actually say that the same brain reaction or chemical reaction that happens in the brain when you take cocaine is the same chemical reaction that happens when you consume one piece of content online. So what we are saying, the chemical reaction now involves actually releasing dopamine, which is a good feeling hormone. So when you consume one reel, you feel good, you're like, you just feel good, and then you continue. It's the same way when you take cocaine and you feel good, you want to take it again so that you can feel good. And now that becomes a cycle, because now you want to feel good more and more, and you find yourself that you have spent on Instagram for 2 hours. And over time, you find yourself you have been addicted, because what happens when you take cocaine, you become addicted. And now we are addicted to our phones, because when you're on TikTok, whatever you're consuming is making you feel good, it's more of highlights, so it's not even satisfying you, it's just making you feel good over time. And because you want to continue feeling good, that means you become addicted. that's the phenomenon of addiction and social media, or how we can connect it to mental health. But also another thing is that and I think the tech people now would explain this more. They say the blue screen, this what we are using right now, our devices, the screen time. The blue screen has a way of suppressing the sleep hormone, and we are not able to sleep because when I use my phone before I go to bed, the sleep hormone is suppressed. So I'm going to spend some more time before I sleep because somehow my mind or my brain has been told by the blue screen, it's not time to sleep. Sawa sawa. So that's one way. Another way. So those are three ways on how social media is really impacting our mental health. For me, this is what I would I would recommend. One, to those who are working online or remotely or working with technology, and that is us actually in the panel, and anyone else also in the live stream. I think it's to just create a rhythm. When we didn't have technology, people would go to work from 8 to 5 or from 8 to 4. And when 4 ikifika hivi wanatoka job. I think it's the same way our jobs are different because we have technology, but also it doesn't mean that we can extend or we can work when we want, even at night. I think for me is to know that it's a job like any other, and that means you don't have to spend all the time working, so that you can actually create a rhythm or a routine for yourself. And know, if I work from home, I can actually create a place where I have an office, and when I maliza at work ama time ikifika, I can actually move and niseme nimetoka job sasa nimeenda home, so that you can actually create that balance and reduce the time, the number of hours that you're spending online or on screen. I think another thing would be for us who are consumers of technology or social media is to actually be more radical, because you don't want to be addicted. And it's sad because most of us are actually have some sort of addiction to our phones or to social media. Is how can you actually find a way, track your usage, track your phone usage or screen usage, so that you can know how many hours you're spending. And when you have that awareness, you'll be more cautious on limiting yourself or regulating yourself. So you can just go to your phone. I know your tech people, these are things that you know. Go to your phone to settings, search digital well-being, and you can actually see how many hours you're spending online and on what app each day, and per month, per week, and all that. But also, because I work on social media, I run focused social media platforms. And that means I have them on my phone, I have them on my machine, and that means I can work anytime. When I realized that I was actually working even at night, still replying to inboxes from our pages, or still, posting content even at night, what I did is I turned off all the notifications. So when you look at my phone, I don't have any notifications from any platform. So that means I'm not triggered to open those social media platforms. So that when I want to open, I open them, not because I have seen the notification, but because it's time to work. So when you become that radical, when we become that radical where you can actually manage your platforms, you can use tools that are on your phones to manage your usage. And that means now using like the digital well-being tools on your phone. So I think that would be what I would recommend. Really, we need to put some limitations. We need to put some rhythm, some routine for those who work online, and for us who are consumers of technology, we need to have that awareness that it's actually impacting our mental health. And now we can put some regulations like turning off your notifications. Actually, just try. Just try, and you'll see it will work. Go to your phone, go to digital well-being, search, and now, look at how track your usage, and now go back to your settings and search for notifications. and go to all your apps, all your social media platforms, turn off all the notifications, and you will see you will reduce the amount of time you go triggered, because most of the time we open our social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, because we have seen a notification or we have seen someone who has liked our picture or someone who has said sijui nini, so we are triggered. And that's how the technological platforms are created, to trigger us, to make us use them more and more so that they can make more money. That's how they are created. When we have that understanding, now we need to put some of those regulation by ourselves. So that those are the things that I would recommend. I don't know if anyone has something else to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ray. That was quite elaborate. I think you've covered almost everything on mental health. With relation to that, I'd also love to invite Irene, but on a different thing, to share with us her insights or in terms of her experience in tech about imposter syndrome. And before that, Irene, before you come in, this post, it's also a public post, but I haven't revealed the name, but it's there on LinkedIn. Someone said, I almost gave up on cybersecurity more than once. I used to think imposter syndrome would disappear once I got certified, landed a role, or gained experience. And that person is saying it didn't. So what is your experience with regard to imposter syndrome, and how do you manage it? Maybe just briefly in a minute or so.
Sure. Thank you, Douglas. I think not only myself, but almost everyone else in the tech industry or even technical industries experience imposter syndrome. This is because we are all human beings and we have that internal voice that keeps telling you, maybe you're not good enough, or maybe you won't deliver as well as someone you look up to, or someone whom you know they do better in the same job that you're in. One thing that has worked for me to kind of overcome imposter syndrome, not that I've overcome it entirely, but again, it's gradual. It's not as bad as it used to be, especially when you're just joining an industry or when you're just given a new project to work on. Be willing to learn, have an open mind, know that you can make mistakes, know that you can learn as time goes by and you can improve. You can also look back and see the difference between the work delivery that you are doing when you are starting and the delivery that you're doing after you've even fine-tuned your work. I think imposter syndrome is just everywhere. But one thing that can work for you is grounding yourself and looking back where you're coming from. I'm sure even as children grow, you'd see a difference or a significant improvement in how they do things. The same applies to any technical industry or specific to this context, being a techie or someone in the tech industry. Back to you, Douglas.
Okay, thanks for that. I know we are battling between, the conversation is getting hotter, but we are battling in between time. We just have a few points of discussion before we call it a day. But of course, the conversation can go on LinkedIn or whatever other platform. If you're a member of this platform, you can always keep checking our videos. But if you're not, perhaps you won't see our content again. So you can subscribe to see the topics that perhaps we'll be covering in future. I want us to talk about learning a little bit. And you realize tech is one of the fields that grow dynamically. Almost every other morning, you're having a new framework, you're having something new to learn. Your organization has just adapted something new and everyone has to be conversant with it. I'd love Mila to comment about how to manage learning in the most appropriate way when it comes to tech, so that one, you are learning what is relevant. Number two, you're also going around the time poverty, so that you're juggling from online courses to tech events to YouTube tutorials without any guidance, without any mentors, sometimes without even peer group supporting you. What is the best approach to learning? There's a post also with relation to learning. I was trying to get real techies on different things, and this is what someone was saying: I'm actually addicted to education. Is it a bad thing? And they're saying they're always in webinars, conferences, learning on YouTube, TikTok, reading journals. They've been sleeping very late. They are very moody. They've lost appetite for things I like, especially food, but I don't think this could be Ronald though. Then they also have a back strain, eyes, and every other thing. They're also falling behind their work. What would be your take on learning the most appropriate way, Mila, in 2 minutes?
Okay, thank you. And I just leave this here so that I can have a look at it. So learning is dependent on outcomes. Do not begin learning anything until you know the exact outcome you are intending to achieve. Like now with AI and this space, there is always a new product coming out almost every single day. If you're to keep up, unless you're a news reporter, if you're to keep up with every single thing that is coming out, you'll actually go insane. And so, here is what I want to achieve, and here is what I need to be able to achieve that outcome. I learn that thing. Once it's finished, I know that I am comfortable, that I know up until here. So basically, you have to know that you have to be comfortable that there are things you do not have to know. All right, there are things you do not have to know. Otherwise, you might end up in a loop. As a trainer as well, I always end up having to, I guess, because like someone is always like learning how the tech space. As I've learned as well is that the only work experience you need is like a project. Like our basketball coach used to say, used to say that the only way to like not play basketball is not by doing drills, is not by doing like many like setups, but it is by playing actual basketball. Many years ago when I began out, I used to like say, okay, like you're doing something, I can make software. So I go and say, I'll make this for you for free. So I go, I sit with the persons, and then I now begin to make the program that I think will be useful towards them. So basically, by doing that, you're building out something from end to end, one thing end to end. You're then able to like advance the system, advance it slowly, advance it slowly until it gets to a particular place. What many people want is that you want to like learn everything in a short amount of time. Your brain will fry. Do not do that. Like here's an outcome, here's how much time I have, here's what I can learn in this particular time. Then learn that particular thing. And mentorship as well is very, very key, because mentorship like ensures that you are learning what is most relevant to the outcome you are intending to achieve. So in summary, you have an outcome, you have a path of learning, and then you learn as you do. Again, outcome, path of learning, and you learn as you do. Like many years back, I have my things on GitHub right now. I'm like, many years back, I used to like write code. I was like, ugh, this is like terrible. But you see, like over the years, as you learn by doing, as you improve by doing, you're then able to advance your skill set. You can't learn everything in a short amount of time. It's what is causing people to fry out. Learn by doing, and learn based on intended outcomes is the best way to avoid that tutorial. Yeah, because the hell itself is basically like a signal that you're afraid that if you begin to do actual work, you will be found out or something of the sort. You learn by doing, not by always learning.
Okay, Mila, thank you for that on learning. maybe just to also have a balance on the gender. Irene, you could also give us some feedback when it comes to tutorial hell. Tutorial hell, for those who don't know what it is, this is just a common term in the tech community that describes the frustrating cycle of endlessly watching and reading programming tutorials without ever feeling ready to build something on your own. It often feels like you're learning a lot, but you don't retain much. So you're always upskilling and doing every other thing, but you never even building real products. So Irene, before you drop, what would be your honest feedback concerning tutorial hell, and especially to someone who is at the verge of, I want to learn this kind of thing, especially languages, frameworks, technologies, whether it's cloud and every other thing? You could give us your feedback maybe before we release you.
Sure, Douglas. This is unfortunately true, and most of the time, especially with the changing technologies or emerging frameworks now and then, you always have to learn stuff. And at times when something happens or you find out along the way and you missed it, you're like, wait, why did I miss that? I should have taken time to read through or even taken time to understand it. So yes, it's true, it's happening or it's there. But again, I like to see things on a positive side. It's what keeps pushing me, and also it's advice that I often get from my mentor. So in case like you ever feel stuck on information overload, you can take a breath, stop, and then like focus on something that is essential to you. You don't have to read every bit of information that you come across online with an intention of being an expert in every aspect of technology. You could focus on something that is of interest to you, or something that you're working on, or is of focus to you at that time. For example, myself, I wouldn't say I'm an expert per se in something like cybersecurity. Yes, I know basics of cybersecurity, how to protect myself, how to protect others online, and maybe threats that I can possibly face. But I wouldn't know everything to do with cybersecurity because I wouldn't go reading every single article that I come across or try to figure out all the information that I need to know about cybersecurity. And it could be anyone else in any other field. But for example, I have a project that I'm working on, and it's relating to maybe something as large language model, which is like a subsection of maybe machine learning. That will be an area of interest that I can take time to learn, and I can take time to focus on, so that I don't feel mind shift, like, or I don't have an area of focus and I'm just gaining information that is not helpful to me. Also, don't be ignorant of any little information that you come across, because as we've said, the tech world is changing. What you know this week, in 2 weeks' time, could be something else, and it could be making impact, shifting careers, or forcing you to even relocate to a new area. I think that will be it from my end concerning the tutorial hell.
Okay. Thank you so much, people. Unfortunately, we are having to come to the end of our discussion, and also answer a few questions from the chat and maybe see what's happening in the chat box. But I'd love Ronald to crown it for us when it comes to startups and freelancing. We can talk about various topics and different things in other upcoming sessions, but for today, we can conclude it at that and possibly just have a few, of course, expert kind of perspective when it comes to startups. So Ronald, there are various headlines that have been there recently, and for your guide, we have this. This is BNPL. I think it's a startup, buy now, pay later. It's reporting to have dropped in terms of its profits from 85 by 85% to that amount there, 1.2 million US dollars. Now, this is just a classic example of the very many other startups that have failed here in this country. And I don't know, because you are a founder, and venture capital is facing a sharp decline right from 2023. We've had startups like Twiga, Market Force. I'm mentioning them because this information is public. So Twiga Foods, we have Kun Foods, we have Market Force, which at one point I think they raised the highest in terms of venture capital, about 40 million US dollars at one point. We've had Copia in rural areas failing. Sandy, it's also failed. And I don't know what it means to us as techies. What are we missing out? In your experience as one, a freelancer, and two, as someone in the tech space, what are we missing out? What are we not doing right, Ronald? So you could talk about freelancing and also how maybe someone can get into it, because there were various people asking about how to get into freelancing, and also give us perspectives on what you've really ignored as techies when it comes to startups. Ronald, if you're there.
Okay, I'm still here. So I think there's been interesting developments in the startup ecosystem and also in the freelancing space as well. So when someone gets into freelance, because when you're a developer or you're in the tech space and you get into freelancing, that's the first step into entrepreneurship and into building your own portfolio, because when you're freelancing means you can work for anyone, anywhere, anytime, okay? As opposed to the 9 to 5 trap where you're just stuck to one company or organization where you're working for them and you're expected to do so in given timelines, and you're not supposed to do any other thing within given time frames. So when you're a freelancer means you sort of have some freedom to explore and do things that you like and you want to, based on your passion, skills, and preference. So freelancing is the first step into venturing into entrepreneurship, really, and that's where I also started back in 2016, 2017. There, yeah, the freelancing journey. Okay, where I started working for different clients, companies from all over the globe, and that gives you a very different perspective about work. Traditionally, where you have been told you need to work for one company or organization for the rest of your life, and you need to retire there and those are the traditional perspectives about work. Since back in the days, but right now things have changed with the evolution of work culture and technology coming into place. So things have really changed. Okay, so in terms of startups, okay, I'm also a founder and in the startup space. So my perspective about these startups that you've seen that they have gone down despite raising huge sums of money, okay, comes into different perspectives. One of them being managerial, things, and others being scalability issues as well, because you could raise a lot of money and maybe the market fit evaluation is not really gotten right. Okay, so you could raise money and you've convinced the investors that this thing is going to work really, but you haven't done really a market fit research very well, and that could lead you to chaos later on along the journey. Okay, and others is you could find a startup that is having very good market fit evaluation and they have a really good product, and the thing that makes them fail is the managerial bit of it. Okay, the management. Okay, so you find the management doesn't have good priorities or vision for the company and management of the resources that they have in terms of the funds and the allocation and usage of the funds that they have, which could lay them into trouble and eventual, failing of these particular startups. So these big names that we are hearing around, you're wondering, because if you have your small startup somewhere, you're wondering if these big names, these companies have raised these billions or thousands of dollars, and they have failed. You may have this kind of fear. What about your small startup that you're just starting up the other day or the other month or the other year? What happens to it? Okay. So, but I would like to encourage like the most founders out there, because there are many founders who are starting their own new ideas, solutions to address different challenges in Kenya or the world generally. It's not about the funding really. It's about the ideas that you have and how you're planning to address to solve the problems that you are really keen to tackle. Okay, so because you may have the money, but you don't have the structure or the framework of how to solve the problems that you are trying to address. Okay, if you don't have the how, then the money won't even help you really. You may have the money, but you don't know how to solve the challenges you're trying to solve. So you really need to have a strong how and why. Okay, you are doing whatever you are doing as a founder, whatever startup you're having, whether it's in fintech, health, agri-tech, edutech, any other thing that you're really trying to do. You need to know how and why you're doing whatever you're doing. That should propel you fast before even you get the money you raise. You may find that there's some people who are just in the because this is some untold truth. There's some startups that come up just or founders who just in the game of raising, and then uh, evaporating within the way. Okay, with the money. Okay, so you'll see those lavish lifestyles and people doing big, portraying a picture of success, but on the ground that's not really the case really. So you may think you may be you know deceived into such kind of stories, but on the ground it's mostly the most important thing is the problem you're trying to solve. What are you trying to solve, and the feedback from your market, the target audience of the market that you're trying to solve for. What feedback are you getting, and what is the response to whatever you're trying to do, and feedback you're getting to. So even for us at Pay Hero, we are not really keen on going to raise money from venture capitalists or that. We are keen on the customers that we are trying to give solutions to. Those are the ones that are driving what we are trying to innovate and build. Okay, because without them, then our existence is very irrelevant. So the customers that we're trying to build for, we go directly and engage with them and try to see what problems they're going through, the real life challenges, the businesses, because there are many small SMEs out there that are going through challenges in terms of financial management and tracking their business growth in different dimensions. So we get to engage with them and see what challenges they're going through, and we build with that feedback in mind. Okay, we don't just go yapping out there. We are trying to do or AI or all those buzzwords out there. There's a small business in the village there that doesn't really care about AI. Okay? They have a very specific problem or challenge that they really want to solve, or they really wish could be solved with technology. So us, we just listen to that and try to build a solution that can solve that. And in the long run, we will find that most businesses have similar challenges, and we will find that we have a very good market fit for solving all these financial challenges that businesses go through. Yeah, that's it. So in conclusion, the thing that most founders or startups should focus on is the solution they're trying to provide and the market they're trying to address. Okay, that's what you should focus on. If you focus on funding a lot and you don't have the solution really well figured out, you may find that these layoffs and these collapses are coming up because of that. Okay, so but if you have a good idea and you have a good market that you are trying to address, rarely do you find yourself going that the road of collapsing or being dissolved and layoffs, such kind of thing. Yeah, so yeah, majorly the solution and trying to really understand your market, yeah, is the very most important thing.
Okay. Thank you, Ronald, for that when it comes to startups. Maybe in future, we'd have a whole conversation around startups and freelancing, because majority of what we've talked about, there are portions of different things and we couldn't cover everything in one session. You realize the conversation is getting much better, but also time is not on our side. So we would wish to end it at that. But before we end, I'd love to give each of you one round of a parting shot. After I've read the questions to you, you can respond to some of them while you give your parting shot. And in your parting shot, you can also let us know if you have any business that you want to advertise for maybe for public consumption. This is also a platform for you to do so now that we already have founders here. If you are running a business or a side hustle or anything you'd love us to know, or promoting a certain cause or any organization, you can also do it in your parting shot as well. There are a few responses in the chat box here, right from when we started. So there's one from Ben Salsi to Miller that post refinement and all best skill set in place, what would be the best answer to compensation in an interview, especially with the current economic times in mind, the Kasongo times? So what would be the best answer to that? Then to Irene, if she's still there or anyone can still pick it up, that Gemini now, the Google AI, is on our emails. Should we get scared? I think that is with relation to privacy. There are also shout outs to Irene and different people. I can see some laughs. I think it's because of the Chelsea Football Club. I tend to think so. Then there's a question to Ray. With AI tools now able to generate logos and layouts and the entire design systems, how can graphic designers continue to differentiate themselves and build sustainable careers? That is from Joseph. I think he's asking about the uniqueness of how graphic designers can stand out to differentiate themselves, because an AI chatbot right now can do a logo for you. We also have more shout outs to the different panelists. I won't read them. We also have I think it's a comment and a question from Kasaya. Mental health and techies are important. I'll just try to paraphrase it. Predecessors have created an impression that programmers work all day and night. Is it therefore, or I think it's a comment, it's therefore the responsibility of individuals to counter this narrative. This is a whole narrative that programmers work at night. Okay, then there's a comment around AI. This is from a doctor that I know, Dorothy. She's mentioning about AI and digital pathology. I guess those in the AI sector are better placed to answer this. So AI, digital pathology in medicine. So watching the patterns around that. There's also a response on symptoms to do with depression, and the medical advice is to see psychotherapist or seek psychological support to the extreme. Yeah, thank you. Joseph was our guest last time, and it's good to also acknowledge that he has attended this show as well, and acknowledge that it's been a great session, which I believe is also a comment from every other person. So in 2 minutes each, if you could respond to a question directed to you, then if you also have a business, you can also let us know where we can find you. If you're also open to mentorship, you can also let us know. If you also have any tech opportunities you are giving away, yeah, so this is the time now. in 2 to 3 minutes as we wrap it up. So I'll start with Ronald.
Okay, thank you, Douglas, for this session. I think it has been a very great, informative session addressing different topics in the tech space, and I've really enjoyed listening in and also contributing to different topics. And personally, from my side, I think I'm in the startup ecosystem, and I run Pay Hero Kenya, which is a technology startup that is helping businesses and also individuals to easily streamline and automate payments online. Because you find that right now we're in a digital space where people are selling products and services online on social media, and they also want to find like an easy way to get paid, a streamlined way to get paid without the hassles of really trying to send payment details manually via text or stuff like that. So we provide an easy way where we can give you a link. You can just sign up your business and get a simple link you can share on social media or email or WhatsApp, any other platform, and you get paid directly to your bank account, till number or pay bill number without much stress, and you can track your business transactions over different periods, and you can see how your business is doing without much stress. Because mostly if you go to buy something online, you'll be told you have to pay to this number or this pay bill, which is a bit cumbersome for businesses, and also for businesses that want to track their their transactions. It's easy if you're in the informal sector. It's not easy to track, because if someone just sends you money, it's hard to track how your business is performing in terms of numbers. So we simplify that, and we also offer automations for business that run online, have e-commerce platforms, and want to also integrate APIs into their systems directly into to get paid with their already existing platforms. Okay, so like till numbers, payments, and banks. So we also offer internship opportunities for tech interns. If you're a tech intern, you are interested in front end development, back end development. At Pay Hero, we on the front end we use Vue.js. So if you're good in Vue.js and you're starting out and you want to explore and really expand your knowledge in Vue.js on the front end, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can just search for me on LinkedIn and you can reach out. For the backend, we use Golang. So if you are interested in Golang, or you know a bit of it and you want to explore more, you can also reach out to me for opportunities in internship, and we can also mentor you and guide you in those perspectives in building scalable solutions out there. So yeah, that's all for me. So it's been a great session, and thank you for inviting me today.
Thank you, Ronald. We are very grateful. Next time I meet you, you can have ugali and kuku on my bill. So cheers.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Over to you, Irene.
Thank you, Douglas. Maybe I can address. First of all, thank you so much to the guests that are giving shout outs. Yes, much appreciated. And then maybe I can address the issue that Ben raised. He's asking if he should be scared that Gemini is on his mails. I don't think it's a reason to be scared, although you should be cautious, because it's there as an assistive tool, and it can, okay, depending on how you use it and depending on the sensitivity of the information that you're using it for, it can have a positive impact on your mails, and it can also have a negative impact on your mails. My advice to you will be, do not summarize maybe sensitive information or sensitive data that you receive via email on Gemini. This is because it's likely to retrain or train on the data that is sensitive to your company or data that is sensitive to you. And unfortunately, it can misuse it somewhere else. On a positive side, you can use Gemini to summarize emails, refine your language, and also maybe do other admin tasks that maybe will be repetitive or will take much of your time. Sorry, Douglas, but I didn't get the question on pathology or something. I didn't quite understand it, but maybe whoever asked can follow up. Didn't share my contact here, but maybe you can search me on LinkedIn, just Irene Murithi, and we can connect from there. Also, I don't know if I'm missing out on something, but oh yeah, I can give guidance on anyone who needs maybe to integrate AI into their system, especially coming up with a chatbot that you can interact with it on WhatsApp. I believe most of us, or a number of us, are on WhatsApp. So if you need maybe a chatbot that can be integrated on WhatsApp, maybe support your clients or even support your enterprise, I'd be willing to help you. Just hit me up on LinkedIn and we can connect. My parting shot will be open-minded to technology. Technology is good. Technology makes work easy. And I like to tell my colleagues and people that I meet, technology makes you cool. At least if you know a thing or two and you can show off your tech skills, it makes you cool and it gives you a social advantage. Otherwise, everyone, thank you for joining us. Douglas, thank you for extending the invite. And that will be it from my end.
Thank you so much. I think the doctor who asked that, they can follow up with Irene on her LinkedIn account as mentioned. Yeah. So over to you, Mila.
Awesome. Thank you. Concerning the aspect of mentorship, I'm not open for mentorship at the moment because I am, I guess, oversubscribed in that sense. Too many things to handle, so I may not be able to give as much time as effort along those lines, just because of a tight schedule. The questions. So the person that asked, what is the best answer to compensation post learning, refinement, all that good stuff? Now, in a sense, I am the wrong person to ask this question because I don't know how to put this as best as I can. The reason why, okay, the basic answer I'll give you is this, is that to be able to work for somebody, you must be comfortable working for them, or is comfort. So for instance, if they're paying you, can they afford to maybe like you take down all your expenses, like say for the month, and then you say, with what this person is offering, am I able to? Because they're like levels, okay, they're like entry levels and they're like senior levels. So if you're at like an entry level, it's like all my monthly expenses. This is like rent, food, etc. Transport. If you must go to Nini, if you must go to the office, can what they're offering meet all these needs? If the answer is no, then now you have to balance and ask, do I need to gain experience? If the answer is yes, then does this opportunity allow me to gain the experience I need to be more valuable for another opportunity? If the answer is yes, then what you then do is you tell the person, I need ABCD to be able to work for you comfortably, but you can only meet up until here. I learned that for some places, they allow you can run like multiple gigs at the same time, as long as you're able to deliver on the agreed upon tasks, because they understand that they can't pay you all that you need. And so you have to find a way. So if they really want you, then they have to be willing to compromise what that will be, like compromise, so that you're able to, like what they give you is able to help you, like move along, but then you're able to like supplement your income multiple other ways. So that is the first thing. Can what you're being paid meet all your expenses? If it can't, then as much as it might be like something that you want to do, then like you might want to avoid. And again, And remember, it's a business. A business does not pay you what you are worth. It can, like a business only pays you what the business can afford. So ensure you're comfortable with that as well. And so if you feel that you're worth more, you keep on searching until you get what you're worth. The reason why I'm the wrong person for this kind of answer is I don't think I've negotiated for compensation ever since I began working. So it should have been, hey Mila, we have work. Please come and do the work. Here's what you have. I'm like, interesting. Let's go. Now I don't work for money, which seems like a paradox. And this was like, I think the mentality I got just getting off of campus, because if you work for money, what then happens is that somebody who can afford to somebody can treat you like their property, and then you're willing to compromise at whatever cost to be able to get particular monies. So I work for Jesus, and there are times whereby there was work that was paying and work that was not paying, and by following Jesus, ikawa you take the work that is not paying. Frog is a business in a sense, but not a profit-making business. Actually, not a revenue business, because we used to like operate like a while back, and then a point came, then it became don't charge don't charge people to make software. And so that has been the case since 2020 2022. Yeah, 2022. I still have the document. So if I give you advice about compensation, you'll end up like suicidal, because these kinds of things are very tricky to balance. So that is why, in this case, I want to be the best person to really answer this. But at a basic level, ensure that whatever job that you're getting, because again, like for me, I work where Jesus says work, not where there is work. So if the door is opened, then is it the best door to open? Because that is how I've gotten all the work that I've gotten, that hey, it is time to come and work. And then we enter a door, and then the compensation is already prearranged. Like my only work is to accept and do the work. I've never negotiated. Yeah. But at the bottom line, ensure that you can cover your expenses for the entire month: rent, food, and transport, and networking if you need to, at least as you're beginning out. And then from there on, depending on who you believe in, if you believe in Jesus, Jesus has like a way for you to follow, which might be unconventional.
Wow, thank you, Mila. I think that was very key to bring out different aspects, especially when they are tied to our core values and also our belief systems. So I believe the majority who are in the conversation, they're also standing guided. And thank you so much. We really appreciate you being an advocate for Jesus, and also standing out and showing that really we have techies in these spaces who stand up for good. It's not just a secular field space, but it's also having people who know God. They stand for what is right. They advocate for what should be done. So cheers and kudos to you. We are very grateful for that direction. Ray, you'd crown the day for us. Yes, with your insights. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been an exciting conversation, very insightful. Also, to be among tech developers, I think you guys develop tools for us, and for us creatives to use them. So we are grateful for you guys and for all the efforts that you put into your work. Now, I think I'll start with a question from Joseph. With AI tools now able to generate logos, layouts, and entire design systems, how can graphic designers continue to differentiate themselves and build sustainable careers? I think for me, I would recommend that you learn both. Learn to be a great graphic designer without AI, and learn the AI tools that do graphic design. I think when you have both, most of the time you'll stand out in the market. And as I said, AI tools, I don't believe AI tools can be creative as human beings. I don't believe actually AI tools can create what a human brain can create. And for brands, most of the brands, especially the big brands, are very unique in a way. They were created by human brains, and that makes them very unique. And that means even for those brands, they can only use AI tools to sustain the brand, but they can't use AI tools to create a brand. So that means they'll actually look for someone who is a good graphic designer and then share the idea, and then the person now can, interact with the AI tools to somehow enhance their work. So for me, Joseph, is to recommend learn graphic design from scratch, learn how to use the Adobe suite, all the tools that are there, learn how to create a poster from scratch, but also learn the AI tools. Learn what can Canva do, what can Poster My Wall do. Like learn the tools as well. Yeah. And also an emphasis on mental health and technology, as Kasaya has posted on the comments. I think, yes, it is our responsibility as technology people to learn that it has shaped us in a way that might be harmful to our lives, especially to our mental health. And now it's our responsibility to change that narrative and to know that really we can actually coexist with technology and be healthy people mentally. I think my parting shot would be technology is a blessing. It is a blessing. It is a great blessing. And because as technology, actually, it's a tool to solve problems. I would call it that way. When we are creating those models or chatbots or websites and apps, we are actually solving a problem in the world. We are covering a gap in the world. So because we are problem solvers, we can't avoid technology. We have to use it. So it is a blessing, but also have understanding that it has shaped our lives, especially when now what we call our personal lives in different ways. And as I mentioned, we are probably not resting. It is impacting our mental health. It has blurred some boundaries that were there before technology or before this kind of technology. And when we have that understanding now, we know that it is our responsibility to make, these regulations, to make commitments to ourselves that we are not going to allow technology to shape us in a harmful way, that we are going to put some sort of routines and what work for us so that we can coexist with technology and also live our lives as fully as possible. Yeah, so yes, you learn AI tools, learn how to use technology, use it in your workplaces, but also sleep. Sawa, sleep, take a walk, just leave that computer and take a walk, you can take a 1 day or 2 day off technology. And for me, I have found that really grounding me in ways that I can't explain. When I am off technology, I kind of just realize that there is actually life without tech, and that keeps me grounded, that I can't allow technology to just take away all that I have. But also, if you're really struggling, if you're at a point where you're addicted, whether as a user of technology or as someone who develops technology, developing technology and working technology can also be really addictive, because we said when you solve a problem, you want to solve a problem. Or when you consume, it makes you feel good, so you want to feel good again. So it can be addictive. If you're at that point where it's actually impacting your personal life in a negative way, or your mental health, and you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, I would advise that you seek help. You seek help. It's possible actually to live with technology and also live a healthy life. So seek help from a professional, from a psychiatrist, a psychology, or a mental health specialist, and you will be advised on how to handle that. Yeah. So that will be my parting shot, but also to know that because we are problem solvers, Our values and our beliefs really matter, and technology sometimes can blur those lines, especially when it comes to the AI tools. How do we use them? Do we use them in our exams? Do we use them to generate some things for our work, or do we actually use our brain? There is all that. So the ethical part of it, always remember that your values and your beliefs matter. And for me, as personally, my faith, my Christian faith, comes really in handy when it comes to how I use technology, and it's usually my my core thing to always consider when I am using technology. So really consider your values and your beliefs, and you will really thrive in this field. So I wish you all the best, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to us. I have enjoyed this session. Thank you so much, Douglas, as well. And the panelists, Irene, it was so nice to meet you, Mila and Ronald. Thank you so much. This has been an exciting session, and thank you, Simi, on the background. Asante sana.
Thank you, Ray. I don't have any more thing to say. I'd invite Simi to thank the panelists on my behalf and pray, and we call it a day. Simi, over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Douglas. I would like to take this opportunity just to appreciate the work that you are doing, and also to acknowledge that the only way to learn better is by teaching others what you have learned. So just honing and shaping your skills. Very grateful to Ronald for sharing out your ideas and wisdom in your software engineering path. I would like also to thank Rehab. Her work is vocal, but the problem now, her account is dormant. Ray, what's up? We know what you are doing for other brands, but we also need to see what you're doing on your accounts. I think that is a problem that we have, especially as content creators for brands and digital managers. But she's really doing a good job on voiceover and content creation. Thank you so much, Mila. Learned a lot on technologies, on how to negotiate around corporate space, especially on compensation. Your sentiments were very good. In her absentia, I think she'll also to get it, Irene. Very grateful for your sharing. Look forward just to interact with you on LinkedIn, as you have emphasized. And to those who followed us virtually via the YouTube, thank you so much for being there. We see you, we have seen you, we have acknowledged your energy. And without you, I think this one will just be like an indoor conversation. But thank you so much for joining. And as Douglas said, if you want to see this content next time, make sure you subscribe, share with your friend. Tell the algorithm that you like this content so that it can pop up on your face. It can pop up on your screen next time when the account will be going live. Having said that, we respect the maker. Let's pray. Lord, we are grateful for this session. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to share the knowledge and to share the wisdom that you have given unto us. We pray with the sentiments that we have shared. It being a seed has influenced someone, recharged someone, and also it has inspired someone. I pray where the knowledge has gone, I pray that somebody is going to change, somebody is going to be rejuvenated, especially to bring positive impact to the tech space. Praying, Father, even for the panelists, may you continue to expand them, give them good health, good state of mind, and also them to expand in their field. We thank you for the hosts, Douglas, as he continue to navigate around bringing speakers who are resourceful to the panel. I pray that you continue to give him favor and even open doors of opportunities. We thank you as we retire over the weekend. Give us good rests. Until then, don't forget to thank your name. For this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much. Back to you, Douglas.
Okay, Celine. Bye, everyone. See you next time. We are having another session next week, Friday. So if you have time, you can join us. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.